Welcome back in my kitchen. My name's Umaru Cadogan, and I'd like to show you how we can translate the knowledge we have in functional medicine into heavenly tasty morsels. In other words, how we can translate all that knowledge we have about human physiology, biochemistry, immunology, endocrinology and so forth, and turn it into foods that taste so darn good you can't help yourself, and that will actually be medicine. In other words, food that's medicine disguised as heavenly tasty morsels. So today we're going to make a raw cheesecake. It's not real cheese. It's dairy free, it's gluten free. It's not without sugars, but all the sugars in here are naturally occurring sugars in all the ingredients we use. So it's also devoid of refined sugar. But if you need to be on an extremely low glycemic diet, then this isn't for you. Now the first thing we need to use if we're going to make our cheesecake is obviously we need to make the bottom. So we need to make some sort of crumble. So what I have here are walnuts and almonds. I have about a cup of each. You could also use other nuts. Make sure you get half almonds, but you could do 1 cup of almonds, 1 cup of hazelnuts, or 1 cup of almonds, 1 cup of pumpkin seeds, 1 cup of almonds, 1 cup of macadamia nuts. And put them in your food processor. A blender won't be able to handle this, so make sure you use a food processor. And then we'll add a bit of sea salt. Not a massive amount, but the interesting thing with salt is that it actually makes the sweetness come out, so you can taste the sweetness better in the cheesecake. So first we're going to grind this up as our crumble, just like you'd have some sort of crumble made with, say, crumbled digestive cookies or something along those lines. And then see, we've reduced that more or less to fine flour or granulate. So this is like almond hazelnut flour. We need to add some dates as well, and probably about the same amount. Now what I usually do is I'll start adding dates little by little, because if I add too many then I won't get the crumble texture. So that's half a cup. And a whole cup, and make sure you use pitted dates, and I'm talking packed cups here, so you can press the dates down a bit. So we'll just start with a cup and a half and see if that's enough. See, depending on how much moisture is left in the dates, you might need a bit more or a bit less. So we add that. It's not quite there yet. It needs to be thick and soft enough that you can actually press it together. So we'll add another half cup. But sometimes it's a cup and a half, sometimes it's 2 cups of dates, depending on the texture of the dates. So start with a cup or a cup and a half. There we go. So now we have our cookie dough crumble, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to put that in a pie mold. Now you can either use a silicone pie mold that's flexible that you can bend, or you could use a pie mold made from metal, but then make sure it's one of those spring release ones where you can actually open the edges and remove those. take them off, because what you're going to have to do, we'll freeze the cake. So we won't actually bake it, but we'll freeze it. So once you get it out of the freezer, you either have to be able to peel the mold off the cake by folding back the silicone, or if you have a pie mold with a spring release mechanism, then you can lift off the sides so you can cut it. So first, we'll add our crumble. And you're simply going to have to press it. So, just use your hands, make sure they're clean, of course, and then press this almond, walnut, date crumble onto the bottom. Make sure it's quite firm. Obviously, you can't make it completely firm, and you also want a bit of a crumbly texture, but like that. And now we'll make our topping, our cheese topping filling. I'm just going to wash my hands quickly. Voila. And chef's trick, dry your hands in your apron. Now for the filling. For the filling you need lots of cashew nuts. You can use other nuts. So here I have, just converting from deciliters to cups. So I have 7 deciliters in total, which is about 3 cups. So I have about 2.5 cups of unsalted, unroasted cashew nuts, and about half a cup of walnuts. It could also be straight cashews, or you could use a half cup of some other type of nut instead of walnuts, but it's quite important that you do get the cashews in there because they give you the special texture we're looking for. Then I have citrus juice and rind. So here I have the juice and finely grated rind of 2 organic lemons and 1 orange. It could also be all lemons, but today we're going to have a cheesecake with a bit of orange flavor. I'll add a bit of vanilla. Here it's vanilla powder. You could also take about 1/4 of a vanilla pod. Throw that in there. Then we'll add some fresh basil. Several reasons. One, basil gives color, but basil actually also provides texture. So when you blend basil, that makes things even thicker, richer, and creamier. And I'll get another spoon. We're also going to add some freeze-dried beetroot powder. You can get it. You can do without, in which case your cheese filling will be green, or you could do like this, freeze-dried beetroot powder. It could also be freeze-dried blueberry powder. It could be, you can get pomegranate as well. You can get that freeze-dried sometimes, or freeze-dried cherry powder. But you don't want juice and you don't want whole berries because that will add too much liquid. Then our cheese filling will not be thick enough. So we're getting there. We also need half a cup of coconut oil. This one's freshly out of the fridge, so it's a bit solid. Usually it will be liquid at room temperature. That's okay, we're going to blend it all anyway, so we'll be fine. So half a cup. And you must use coconut oil here. The only other thing that might work is actually cocoa butter, because you want saturated fat, otherwise the filling won't set the right way. And obviously the fats in coconut are a lot healthier than some of the saturated fats you find in modern industrially raised animals that are farm-lot fed instead of grass-fed and just left out and about on their own in nature. So we have that. We'll throw in a bit of rosemary as well for the flavor. That'll just give it a bit of freshness. And then we need either honey or agave syrup, or you could use maple syrup as well, obviously would be good. Rice syrup, barley syrup. So again, we need about half a cup, which if you take tablespoons is about 6. So let's see if I think I have just enough agave syrup here. There we go. is blend it completely. So we turn it into this thick, creamy filling that actually has the same texture as a cream cheese filling. So now we have a lovely pink purple filling. If I use just basil and not use the beetroot crystals, then it would be green, so you can get a green filling as well. And think about all the things in here that are good for your heart. The fats from almonds are good for your heart. Walnuts are obviously very good for your heart. Beetroot on its own is good because it contains natural nitrates that are converted into nitrogen oxide, which is obviously quite important for your cardiovascular system and functioning. Rosemary is good for your heart as well. And all the citrus fruits have vitamin C. And of course, there's an inverse relationship between vitamin C and blood sugar levels. And there's also an inverse relationship between blood vitamin C levels and oxidation of cholesterol particles. So the more vitamin C you get into your system, the less oxidation of cholesterol you have. In addition to a spatula, you probably need a spoon, because as you can see, this is quite thick, which is the whole point. We want it to be really thick and semi-solid. And then when we put this in the freezer, it will set and become just like the filling in a cheesecake. But no cheese, so no dairy products, no gluten, no added sugar, no eggs. And from a paleo perspective, this is almost paleo. The only thing you might object to are cashews that are technically speaking a legume, but I'd say if you need to follow a Paleolithic diet or a Paleolithic diet most of the time, and you have this as your cheat meal once a week, maybe not the whole cake for you, but for a family or a gathering of people, then you should be fine. That shouldn't be an issue. We'll just spread our filling on top. Do resist the temptation to eat everything now, because it gets much better later. So here we go. We've spread our lovely filling. And I'll just get a spoon or a fork to get the last bits. So there we go. Now all we do is put it in the freezer. So you put it in the freezer and you freeze it for 6-7 hours until it's all solid. And we'll come back and look at it when it's done. Bon appetit for now.